Please join me in welcoming our special guest, alumna, colleague, friend, and sister, Alicia Cass.
Hi. Good morning, should I say good afternoon. So many Trojans in the house. Fight on. Fight on. I'm going to open up. I'm going to share a little bit about myself, my testimony, shall I say. I would say about 4 years old, my mother died. About 4.5, I was sexually and physically abused by family members on multiple occasions. By the time I was 12, I was selling drugs. By the time I was 13, I was gang affiliated. In between that process, we were in and out of foster care. Me and my siblings, it was 5 of us. Back to my father, back home, through various relatives, not really having a place to go. And so at 15, when I left my last foster care placement, I hit the streets. I went to my gang. That was all that I knew. Within 6 months of being out of foster care, I was pregnant. At that time, you can say, what else could happen? You know, you've been through a lot. You're only 15 years old. At that point, my daughter's father was murdered. We're from the same gang. He was 23 years old. After he was murdered, I was homeless. I wasn't in school. School wasn't on my mind. I was thinking about surviving. That's the only thought that I had at that moment. And then it kept going on and on and on. And I didn't even realize that I was in a vicious cycle stemming from poverty through my family. I had no idea where I was. I thought I was doing okay. By the time I was 18, I had baby number 2. By the time I was 19, I had baby number 3. By the time I was 23, I was in a domestic violence relationship in which he broke my jaw in 2 places. He threw me from a moving car on multiple occasions. And within that cycle, all I can see was that I was worthless and that my life wasn't going anywhere. And that's where I sat. I sat on welfare. I sat on public housing. And then I had more kids. And so by the time I was 26, I had 6 children. So here I am. I'm a product of foster care, abuse, now domestic violence, and now I have children. I'm uneducated, and I have nowhere to go. My family didn't understand what I was going through. They didn't have a clue. And they're looking at each other, they're like, we're kind of decent people. What happened to her? Abuse happened to me. Trauma happened to me. Life happened to me. And they could not understand that. But when you're in the midst of it, you don't have a clue. And so I guess you guys are saying, what does that have to do with you guys as social workers? I'm going to tell you what it has to do with you. It's like we knew you were going to get to that. As I began to write my book, it started some years ago. And as I began to write my book, I was going through cycles. I started to see the trauma. I started to see the same vicious cycles in my family. I started to see why they couldn't protect or help me, because they could not protect or help themselves. They didn't realize that just like I came out of abuse and poverty, so did they. And as I began to pen my memoir, my heart began to break for my family. And for many other families that experience the same thing. And the most heartbreaking thing is they don't know that they're in it, because this has become their norm. This is generational. This is cultural. And they don't have a clue. And so as I wrote this book and I began to confront some of the things that I thought that I was healed from, I began to confront the sexual abuse, and I began to confront the physical abuse, I realized that I still had to heal. That there was healing. And so I had come to USC, you know, I was on the welfare, and I came here. You guys let me in, thank you. And thank you. Shout out, they let me in. They let me in. And you know, and coming to USC, it opened up my eyes. I saw other cultures. I saw other people. And I was like, wow. And I took classes and I heard of things I had never heard of before in my entire life. And I thought I was a pretty smart cookie. And I was like, wow. And so when I came here, I began to get a sense of self. I began to identify some of the trauma and some of the structures that have plagued not only myself, but my neighborhood. We live right up the street. I have been in this neighborhood. I'm 46 for over 46 years. My family has been in this neighborhood for 50 years, and it wasn't until I was almost 30-something I even stepped my foot on this campus. I drove by, I walked by, I got the bus by, but I never came on this campus. And so when that happened, something began to spark in me that I'm not my circumstance. And as I was saying, as I began to write the book, the layers have begun to unfold of what was going on with my family. And so let me give you 3 elements. I know you guys are looking at my shirt. You're like, ooh, the butterfly is cute. It is. Thank you. I know you thought so. But it has a deeper meaning. This butterfly represents transformation. And as social workers, you're going to be helping people. And there are 3 stages, right? There's the caterpillar, there's the cocoon, and then there's the transformation. There's the butterfly. So I'm going to explain to you as USC social workers what that means and how does that translate into your practice. The first thing is the caterpillar. There are some people like myself that are stuck. We were caterpillars and we're crawling on the ground of uncertainty. We don't even realize there were caterpillars because we cannot see past the weeds of life. We cannot see past the abuse, the hurt, the pain, the disparities, the poverty. We can't see. And then you're going to come into their lives and you're going to help them identify that they're caterpillars. This is where you are. And then there's going to be a stage 2. There's going to be the cocoon stage. You say, what is the cocoon stage, right? The cocoon stage is when the caterpillar begins to morph. That's going to be one of the hardest stages when you're dealing with this family. You say, why would the cocoon be the hardest stage? At least with a caterpillar, you know they had movement, right? But with the cocoon stage is when they begin to deal with and confront familial issues, traumas, hurts, molestations. When they begin to morph, they don't realize that they're starting to change. Why are they starting to change? Because you're going to help them change. And if you read anything on the transformation of the caterpillar, once it's in the cocoon and it begins to morph, it does not realize it's no longer a caterpillar. It still thinks it's a caterpillar. It does not know that it's transformed into a butterfly. Only someone on the outside can see that the caterpillar has now become a butterfly. And so when they're in the cocoon and they're stuck because they're confronting all these issues and they can't see that they're beginning to change because they're beginning to confront the things that have oppressed them for years, that is when you're going to walk them through their process. That is when you're going to encourage them and let them know you are no longer a caterpillar. You are a butterfly. That is when you're going to pour in your heart into them. That's when they will no longer just be a case or a client or a number, but they become people. That is what you will do for them. You have the power of words. You have the power to encourage. Because when they could not see themselves like I could not see myself, you have the ability to get them to the next stage. And that is the stage of transformation. That is the stage of the butterfly. That is the stage to let them know that this will not keep them down. They will not stay stuck where they are. But this is where you step in. This is where you show love. This is where you let them know that it does not end here. You have that power. You have the ability with you opening your mouth to change lives, and not just their lives, but when you touch their lives, you're going to touch their children's lives and their children's lives. You will change communities and you will change generations. I want you to know how important. Give yourself a hand. How important you are. It's so funny when I was at USC and they were saying, oh my God, what do you want to be? And I heard people say lawyers and, I want to be a neuroscientist. And I'm like, social worker? And everyone's like, social worker. But we change lives, not just on the ground level, but it funnels up. It spreads when we go in there and we do what we're called to do, and that's to love and to help others. And I remember being in foster care when I was a youth. I said, I will never be a social worker, because I had a raggedy social worker. I did. And he was raggedy. And so I made it up in my mind, I would never be a social worker. There's no way. And I remember him taking me and my sister to the foster home, and he said, this is the good sister and this is the bad sister. He said, now this one will mind and she'll do what you want her to do, but this one will not. And I was happy. I was like, you right. I probably not going to do. Got that right. So at least he put it out there, you know. And I thought from that time, I'll never do social work. I'll never drop kids off at other people's house with that nasty attitude. And it was then when I decided to take my call. And I had 6 children of my own, and then I had another 2 kids. Yes, I have 8 kids. And I decided to do that. I knew that it was important to help somebody transform. I knew it was important when I started my nonprofit to help other women deal with the fact, and men that have been sexually abused. And here's the thing, not by someone we don't know, but by someone we trusted. So it's double trauma. Not only did you violate me, but I know you and I trusted you. So that's and then there's a triple violation because I can't tell it. Because cultures say you don't tell what happens in your house. Whatever happens in your house stays in your house. And so when I decided to go into this work, when I decided to write the book, when I decided to do the nonprofit, I realized that it was no longer about Alicia. It had now transformed to the butterfly effect. That means that I had a social, moral, conscious, and obligation to help and change lives. And I'm going to end with this. In writing the book, I disclosed all kinds of stuff in the book, and I was like, oh my God, I told everything. You know, you go back, you start to think about that, some things. And I said to myself, if I have to unstrip and become naked for the next person to cover up and to live, then so be it. I strip before you so that other women, youth, and men can cover up. Thank you. And so with that, your job is just as important as a police officer, a cardiologist, any type of medical doctor. You are surgeons. You're going in, you're cutting things out, you're helping people heal. And so all I can say to you today, hold your head up when you're walking on campus, because our school is social work. We really do rock, okay? We rock. We rock. We rock. And I want to say thank you for what you've decided to do. God bless you.
For more information or to book an engagement with Alicia Cass, please visit her website at www.themetamorphosisexperience.org.